wow, Apple are going all out with the iPhone 12 series this year. These leaks courtesy of Max Weinbach, covered by Everything Apple Pro as well. And wow, the standout for me is the inclusion of Pro Motion displays on the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max. Apparently something that Apple absolutely want to put into the Pro and Pro Max. Still testing it out. If they can't get it perfect, apparently not putting it in at all. So there will be no middle ground. There'll be no 90 Hz refresh rates. It's either 120 Hz Pro Motion or nothing. We have the S20 series, and of course the Note 20 series will be getting 120 Hz this year. And we have the OnePlus 8 Pro, the Find X2 Pro. So there are definitely Android flagships out there with 120 Hz and Quad HD resolutions. So for sure, that 120 Hz keeps Apple screens right up there. Nothing about resolutions for the iPhone 12 series though, so we have to assume Apple are sticking with Full HD resolution. I guess they're not going all the way to Quad HD, at least nothing in the leaks about resolution. The two smaller models keeping 60 Hz apparently, and that makes a lot of sense. Say 120 Hz is just a really expensive screen component for sure. It's expensive hardware, and it really only is reserved for really top end phones. So with the price leaks we got for the iPhone, the two smaller iPhones coming in maybe at $650 and $700-ish dollars, that's a cheaper price. So for sure, not including those real high end components. Also, according to that leak, there'll be something called dynamic refresh rate switching, which is what we see in some other phones that use these high refresh rates. So if you're using the phone, you're switching in and out of apps or playing games that do have high refresh rates, of course, the screen will be using that high 120 Hz refresh rate. If you're not using or touching the display, it will go down to this 60 Hz refresh rate. And this is just really to save on battery life. We actually see this used on the OnePlus 8 Pro, which can use Quad HD and 120 Hz. I've done a lot of tests on that phone. It goes up to 120 Hz when you touch the display itself. It ramps up to 120 and it will use 120. As soon as you don't touch the screen, it will go straight back down to 60 Hz. Also, according to the leak, midnight or navy blue is going to be the new color option for the iPhone. Definitely a good looking color, getting rid of the green color that we had last year, switching over to this blue color. Also with Face ID, apparently the field of view for the Face ID scanning is getting wider and bigger. So we know right now with Face ID, if you're not within a certain field of view, it just cannot recognize your face, will not unlock the device. So that field of view apparently is getting bigger. We don't know how much bigger or how much wider the field of view, probably still not incredibly wide that you can be really off tilt, but wider, better, bigger field of view. Definitely a good thing, an incremental upgrade. In terms of the cameras and camera hardware, it looks like we're sticking with 12 megapixels again for the cameras. This isn't a huge deal. 12 megapixels is a sweet spot. Apparently, heard those rumors before. Apple were looking at some high megapixel image sensors, certainly from Samsung and from Sony, testing those out. But according to this leak anyway, they weren't pleased with the results and they're just going to stick with 12 megapixel image sensors, tried and tested. So does that mean no camera upgrades at all? Well, according to the leak, a 3x telephoto zoom camera on the phone as opposed to the 2x we get at the moment. Not a big difference, but certainly another incremental upgrade. We're seeing more and more phones that use 3x as that telephoto. So definitely a needed upgrade overall. We've had the 2x for such a long time now. It's not really confirmed in the leak how much the digital zoom will increase, but considering Apple's very good processors and image processing, there's no reason why they couldn't shift it to at least 20 or even 30 times. So no periscope zoom cameras in the iPhone 12 series this year, although it was never rumored to be. Ming-Chi Kuo thinks maybe the next few years that we might see a periscope zoom camera like we're seeing in a couple of Android phones like the P series from Huawei, and this year for the first time in the S20 Ultra. Also in the leak was mention of sensor shift stabilization, which is a stabilization method where the sensor itself is actually stabilized rather than the optics, hence why it's called sensor shift rather than optical stabilization. This does have some benefits. It's used in big DSLR cameras to get some better stabilization, and also it can be used to actually take some higher resolution images by just shifting the sensor a little bit when you take an image. But a lot of this is actually dependent on bigger cameras, maybe you need a tripod as well. I'm not sure if some of the benefits of sensor shift actually translate to cell phones when we are holding them, because sensor shift with the higher resolution image part does actually require very stabilized images anyway. So we'll have to see exactly how Apple try to implement this. There could be some advantages, but we'll have to wait and see how exactly those advantages play out when it comes to miniaturizing that tech and putting it in a smartphone. And finishing off with a leak from John Prosser, Apple's new over-ear headphones will be called AirPods Studio, according to him, retailing for $349. These will look very similar to Beats Solo Pro, but it makes sense for Apple to keep the AirPods in the name. It's a very valuable brand, only gaining more value every day, so it makes sense for them to keep the AirPods in the name for these new earphones. Okay, that's it for your tech news today. A big Apple news day today. Check out the other channel for lots more content, and I'll see you next time.